Well, what's going on, my fellow freedom lovers? Today we're talking about this bad boy right here. So that is the integrated folding lower receiver from 17 Designs. Now, if you didn't catch that, the folder is actually integrated into the lower receiver from the factory. So this thing definitely has some interesting things going on inside, being that that is all an integrated piece into that lower receiver, from the buffer to the locking mechanism. So I've been testing this out for the past month, maybe a little bit more than a month, but I've only had the chance to get a couple of hundred rounds through it because ammo is stupid expensive right now. Even though I had stockpiled quite a bit over the past couple of years, it's literally like $1 a shot for 5.56 223. If you can even find it. But speaking of all that expensive ammo, huge shout out to today's sponsor, Hidden Hybrid Holsters. Today's video is brought to you by Hidden Hybrid Holsters, bringing you that sweet handmade Amish leather to fulfill your needs from belts to holsters. Whether it's treating that 1911 right, tucking that new Army hand cannon into your pants, or just a little bit of leather to go with that sweet 80s mustache, check out hiddenhybridholsters.com or at the link in the description. Well, being that ammo prices suck right now, and I've only had the opportunity to get a few hundred rounds through here, basically what I wanted to do to kind of accelerate and see if there was going to be issues here, every day I came home and just opened and closed this thing like 20 times just to see if an issue was going to come up. But generally the rest of the lower, as long as it was machined within spec, which everything here appears to be, and as long as you, the end user, built it right, you're probably not going to have any issues out of the lower. So the only thing I wanted to pay attention to was the actual folding mechanism. Well, let's go ahead and be about it and get into this thing so you guys can get a really good idea of what is going on in here. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing to the channel, turning those bell notification icons on, and if you like anything that's going on here, give that video a big thumbs up. All right, let's go ahead and take a good look at this folding lower receiver. So don't really care much about the upper. If you are interested, that is a full Aero precision upper with their stainless 416R barrel, that gamma brake, and of course it's got an Aero bolt. Love this thing, and I do have a review on the Cloud Defense Light coming soon. That thing is an absolute flamethrower. Go ahead and throw that thing to the side and we will get into this lower receiver. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and take a good look at this. And let's just talk about the lower receiver in general overall from 17 Design here. So you can see very nice design, got some relief cuts in there. Definitely a looker if you are into kind of those like more modern designs on lower receivers. Got this one marked up because I'm running two different ones of these and I wanted to keep track of which one is which without remembering the serial numbers. You can see that 17 Design logo right there, very nicely done. Everything else in here is mil-spec, definitely gonna fit all those normal parts you'll have. Although it does have a very nice integrated mag well right there, which is very generous, which is something I'm always a huge fan of. And then that integral trigger guard right there is definitely a nice touch as well. Kind of hides that ugly CMC trigger right there, which I'll be doing a video on soon because I just don't know how I feel about that. As far as everything else in here except for the buffer system is going to be mil-spec. So let's go ahead and take a good look at the hinge right there. As you can see, pretty beefy looking. That is the integrated part that allows it to fold over. It's just a hinge with a solid bolt that goes through there. You can see right there. And then a nut here over on the top. Standard backplate style stuff. I've got a QD in there from Magpul, and then this is your actual activation lever right here, which has a couple of Allen set screws that keep the springs in there for tension. And you're going to have one main one in the bottom, and that's going to be for your retention in here. So you take a good look at this, you can see the activation there. Steel part here, the rest of it is going to be aluminum. And then this is actually just a reference point. You can see where it indexes right there. And that takes pressure off the lower receiver should it take a hard spill or anything. So good thought process there. As you can see up in here, you've got your other set screws in there, which is going to keep the mechanism right there. Okay, I think a little pointer out. You can see it right there. That's what keeps the bolt in as you have it folded, and then it goes in and down. Once you fold it, it's going to contact the bolt as it folds. And then as you can see, it is all set to go in there and ready to rock and roll. So while it is collapsed, the bolt does hold on that right like this. I don't know if you can get a round off while it's open. I didn't attempt that because I don't want to try and see my bolt fly out the back. So it is a little bit different. You'll notice that your spring is no longer in here. For your takedown pin, it's actually going to be up underneath the pistol grip now, and those parts are provided as well. And then this piece right here where the locking mechanism integrates is actually steel as well, set into the aluminum, which is a good thing because steel on aluminum, steel is a lot stronger than the aluminum, so it will eventually tear into it if they had not done that. You can see where the coating has worn off that buffer a little bit there. It took a little bit of damage. So we'll go ahead and talk about the price of this thing, talk a little bit more about that range footage, and then my overall thoughts on the durability of this and who is this actually for. Well, brass tacks on this bad boy, this lower with that buffer is $300. So it's definitely not the most budget-friendly option out there. But the question is, if you want a folder, is this something worth looking into? Well, let's talk about the functionality of it. Obviously, folding this thing and closing it is very, very easy. The locking mechanisms worked great. The only thing that was kind of weird was you can see how that buffer in there got gnarled up a little bit, but I was kind of assuming that was going to happen just based on how it interfaces with the bolt. Other than that, I have not had any issues with anything in here coming loose. I don't see any of it coming loose anytime soon, and like I said, closed it and opened it probably a couple of hundred times at this point just to accelerate the life cycle and see if there was going to be a problem. Now, out on the range, I did have one malfunction. It's because I'm using that sweet, sweet steel tool ammo. Basically, I just had a failure to feed. For some odd reason, that round didn't want to go up in there, and then it looks a little something like this. Got our first problem. We're about to find out. Might have just been a bad feed. Probably should have lubed her up. So other than that, that was the only malfunction that I had, but we are left with the question of why. Why would you do something like this? Well, there's a couple different reasons. One, you could just really want a folder. Two, this could be your RV gun, this could be your truck gun, this could be your camping setup, whatever you want, because it does leave this thing in a much shorter configuration. And it looks like I said up close, you probably could get one round off with it open, but I am not testing that to see if that bolt flies out the back. But you definitely need to close this thing before you really go to work with it. Now, one word of caution, especially for my people that want to build a pistol out of this, remember that the ATF came out with that weird thing that between the front face of that trigger and where that stock ends, there has to be, I think it's like 13.5 inches. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, everybody. But it has to have a length of pull from the front of that face of that trigger to the rear of your brace if you are building a pistol of 13.5 inches or less. Now, I know there are some companies like CMMG that make shorter tubes, so that will keep you within that regulation or that opinion letter or whatever the ATF's calling it. But you need to be very cognizant of that if you are going to build a pistol out of anything that has an integrated folder or that you add a folder on, because it adds distance. Now, the ATF has gone back and forth on whether a pistol brace is an accessory or to be included in the measurement. And basically they contradicted themselves. So to be safe rather than sorry, stay within that 13.5 inch length of pull. We are left with the question of, is this worth it? And that really depends on you. Do you really want a folder? And if you do, which one do you want to go with? So if you go with one like the 17 Designs that is integrated, it's $300 for the lower with the buffer, and then you just build it how you want. If you get a regular lower and you build it how you want and you buy like the Law folder, I think the Law folder alone is like $300. And then you still have to buy and put everything else on there. The one difference between this and the Law, like I said, is that is integrated into the lower. So that is something to pay attention to, because you ever break that folding mechanism right here, you basically have just ruined your lower and it's not gonna work. It's not gonna stay closed, and you pretty much have a worthless piece of aluminum if you should break that. Like I said, I don't see most people or anybody breaking this unless they really try or do something really stupid with it. But that is definitely something to be concerned about, because it is not the biggest chunk of metal that is holding this thing onto the side. So don't abuse it, and you'll probably be just fine. Well, that's what I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed learning about the 17 design folding lower receiver there. If you give that video a like, you guys know the drill. Get out there, have some fun. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, and I will see you guys on the next one.